I am a survivor of suicide.
Completed on the other side, what you see. Are you glad you didn't?
I am glad I didn't. I did complete. I ended up in the hospital. I just didn't.
If you completed, you'd be gone.
Huh?
Well, if you would have completed, you'd be gone.
Right, but I mean, I did a pretty good job.
Yeah. You were serious.
I was serious. It was just too much, but I don't know how I would tell anybody. I would tell them what Mickey said. Call me. Yeah. Do something besides think about. Turn over. When you're face down, turn over.
That's excellent. That is an excellent way to say it.
I mean,
and if you can't turn over, get someone to help you.
Get somebody like the man in the Bible that his friends carried the mat in. The faith of friends can pull you through. Yes. I mean, and you're right. If you can't turn over, get somebody who can turn you over.
Yeah. Because somebody, even strangers can offer kindness, and the strangers of places in the smallest of ways can make a huge difference. Just be kind.
That makes a big difference.
Just be kind.
Yep. And I'm sorry he didn't call. It sure wasn't because he didn't have a support system. But I think his haunting was probably bigger than even he realized.
Right. The ripple, Chelsea lost a brother. Michael lost a son. His wife lost a husband. The children lost a father. I mean, the ripples go on forever. And his friends.
I mentioned his platoon buddies.
Yes, and so many of them came to the funeral. Yep. And Michael and I did that funeral. We did the visitation, and then Michael preached the funeral, and I sang at the funeral. The funeral was not as hard as the burial.
Yeah, that's permanent.
I mean, when they put him in the ground, it was like my life was over. And I'm sure Michael felt the same way. I'm sure Chelsea and his wife felt the same way. I mean, it was... There's just no describing when they put that dirt on the casket. It just takes your breath away.
I don't even remember where Michael or Chelsea was at that time. I just know I was there with you.
They couldn't watch it.
Michael and Chelsea couldn't watch it. I saw him come into the world. I was going to see him go out.
And that's exactly what she told me. Yep.
Because usually they do not do that until the family has left the gravesite.
I refuse to leave.
Yeah. So, just in case people are wondering, if it's done differently there or what, but that was the mama's last request.
That I wanted to see him, that he was safely put.
So, the next day.
The next day after the burial was Chelsea's birthday. We celebrated her 21st birthday. And it was wonderful, but it was awful. I mean, she said Josh was going to take me out for a drink on my 21st birthday. And her first drink.
Starting now. Your first time without him. Yeah.
And we're celebrating a birthday, and we want to celebrate it for her, but all of us are broken. I mean,
yes.
But Michael and I went to Walmart, and we got her a Harry Potter cake. She loves Harry Potter, and we got it we decorated that cake, and we had her presents and everything. So she had a really good birthday, but it was really tough. It was really tough on us all. But the toughest...
Somebody said, Joshua would want you to do this.
Right, exactly. And that's a lot of what kept us going, is Josh wouldn't... Yeah. He wanted everybody to be... He felt like everybody would be happier without... This is not what he would have wanted. And that really people reminding me that would, I'm like, I don't think Josh knew what he wanted, but,
Yeah. So, did you hit anger? Have you been angry at him?
Oh my gosh, did I hit anger? I mean, every post I made on Facebook was how angry I was at God. And I never got angry with Josh because I knew how dark he could get.
Yeah.
Michael got angry with Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael he says, I just don't understand how he can do it. I mean, and I was like, I understand. I don't know if Chelsea ever got angry because she's got enough of, she's got mostly her daddy in her, but she's got enough of me in her that she's able to keep going. But anger at God is where I was. Why didn't you tell me?
Like Josh.
Yeah, and anger with his wife. If you knew something was going on, why didn't you call us? Anger. I was more angry at God than I was. And I let God know. Every Facebook post I made was about how angry I was with God about taking my son. Or letting my son take his own life.
Have you found, I won't say peace with that yet because that's that wave thing. Maybe some days you do have peace, maybe some days you don't, right?
I tell you, Sundays are hard for me because both of them died on a Sunday. I'm not as strong a Christian as I used to be. And I think God is working on that. But I had to get away from church because I just felt not judged, that's the wrong word, but smothered, because everybody knew me and knew that the darkness that I had been in. And I think that they were so afraid that I was going to do what I eventually did, that I just had to get away from it so I could breathe. And I beat myself up regularly because I don't go to church on Sunday. And I know I need to be there.
We probably should back up here because church was where you were with your husband.
Right. And
so let's talk about Michael. He's part of that ripple.
Right.
So that affected him. I'm assuming he was a changed man after.
He was. But things seemed to get better there. For his health started to decline. He had to have nasal surgery. He had a tumor on his kidney that had to be removed. He had a stent put in. So his health started declining. So I think that.
You think that's like depression?
I do think. Yeah, and then we found out that Josh's son, he was 2, and we found out that he had muscular dystrophy of the worst kind. And of course, he still has it. But treatments today are so much better than they were when our children were children. And I do remember Michael telling me, I don't know if I can take my grandchildren or my, getting hurt. He said, I just can't live with it. And, I heard that, but I didn't hear it.
Yeah. But that's an expression we all, I just died. Or,
Right. And then Chelsea started having horrible anxiety. And she would just get to places where she couldn't even move or act. And we finally got her to a doctor. And Michael says, I just can't stand it when my children are hurting. And I heard it, but I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
And the week before he was spring break, and Michael and I, because I'm a teacher, and I'm one of those, I don't bring work home with me. I stay at work till it's done. I would stay at work till 6 or 7 and then go home rather than take it home with me and work at home because that's just, work stays at work, home stays at home. So Michael and I didn't get to spend a lot of time with each other. Now we saw each other at supper. We always watched Wheel of Fortune and what's the show, Jeopardy together. And I would go to bed early and he would stay up late. And I would call him every morning during my break, and I would listen to his sleepy voice as he was telling me, I'm not sleeping. I'm like, yes, you are.
Just resting my eyes.
Yeah. But, he could do that. He could stay up late and get up later, because even though he was a pastor, you don't go visit people at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's just not done.
It's frowned upon.
Absolutely frowned upon. And so on the weekends, he would even Saturday, he would spend all day in prayer, and I would just kind of lounge around the house. But Sundays was our day. And when we had breaks, when it was school breaks, that was the time that we would go. We would go on trips. We would go to the mountains. We would go to the beach. And we'd just make a lot of quality time that way. And those are the good memories. But we had spring break the week before Michael killed himself. And I'm still shocked to this day. We went and got my eyes checked and bought me glasses, and he bought him, and I still remember because I thought he was ridiculous. He bought him 6 packs of those eyeglass wipes, and the spray thingies that you spray on your eyeglasses, and the wipes. He bought 6 containers of them. And I'm like, what are you doing? If you're cleaning your glasses that much, you can't possibly see because they're off your face. But I mean, we went and we got new phones at Verizon. All 3 of us, Chelsea and Michael and me, went. I can't even remember where we went. The week was a blur, and we didn't get to go off because this was the week before Easter. So it was a working week for us because you have, pumps. Right. Well, you have pump, but the wife has got to be there.
Absolutely. You work when he does.
Right. So, I mean, we had Palm Sunday, then we had Wednesday night service, and then for Palm Sunday, and then Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then we had the cantata Easter morning. And it was a wonderful week. It was but it was all at home. And no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong, but it's all right.
It's me.
So it was the week after Easter. So so we really had the week to ourselves. We weren't working that week. It was the week after Easter. And so like I said, we went and did all of those things. And so I was just totally unprepared when I woke up Sunday morning, and I woke up to the sound of the alarm clock blaring. And Michael would always wake me up and say, it's time to get ready for church, because I was like, I don't want to go. He says, you got to go.
Well, it's so nice to know that the minister's wife doesn't want to go some days.
Well, I just wanted to sleep, but he would get up early, and which always surprised me because he doesn't get up early during the week, but he would get up early. He would make sure that he had something in his tummy so his tummy wouldn't growl during the service. And then he would wake me up before it was time to go and say, all right, it's time for you to get up and get ready. I'm going to go to the church. And he would go to the church and he would pray and he would practice his sermons. Well, when I woke up that Sunday morning, I woke up to an alarm blaring, and I don't set my alarm on Sundays because Michael woke me up. I only set my alarm on the school days. So I woke up to that noise, and I was like, what is going on? I didn't know if the fire alarm was going off. So I got up and I walked around, and I was like, where's Michael? And I went to his room, and he was in his bed.
And he had committed suicide too.
Right. And I remember I went and got a bottle of pills when I found him. And I went and I lay down beside him. And I opened the bottle of pills and I was ready to swallow them all because I wasn't going to live without him. But something, I guess it was God. I don't guess it was God. I know it was God. He said, "You've got to be here for Chelsea." And I closed the pills back and I put them on the bedside table. And I got up and I made myself go call 911. And then I realized after I got off the phone with them, they asked me what happened. I said, "I don't know, but he's not moving. It looks like he shot himself." And they said somebody, and all of a sudden it occurred to me, somebody needed to tell the deacons that they were going to have to do the service. And I went out in my bare feet and my pajamas to the fellowship hall with the phone still in my hand. And I opened the door and Bonnie says, "Well, we were wondering when you were coming." And they heard the ambulances and all the men just got up and they ran to the house. And one of them was a youth. He couldn't have been more than 15. And they went into the house and they went to see what was wrong. And I just followed them. And I got there and I saw that young man in there and I said, "Please get him out. He does not need to see his pastor in his underwear lying down in the face." And it just upset me so because Michael would not want to have been seen like that. As angry as he was at Josh, it didn't compute that he would take his own life. As angry as he was at me, it was like, "I can't believe you left me alone. I'm not the strong one. I can't do this by myself." But he was gone.
Did he leave a note?
No.
But Josh did, right?
Josh did.
So you got left with questions in the end. Do you think that it was Josh's suicide that pushed him?
I think it was.
So your ripple became a wave again.
Yeah.
And now you got another set of ripples coming on.
And I still don't know how I did it, but I called Chelsea. And I called Michael's sisters. And I made a dumb mistake. I tried to call his mom first, but she didn't pick up. And they said, "We're so glad she didn't pick up because we're not sure she could have stood it."
Yeah.
But the church was wonderful.
They were there for you?
The whole day. I mean, and afterwards too, they were. But they truly loved. We'd been in this church for over 10 years. So they were family.
That's the beauty of a church. And that's why church is important. A lot of people talk about how growing up they didn't believe in going to church, but even through this pandemic, that congregating and that fellowship is important to that shared faith in something. Even like in this YouTube, we have a wonderful community where we feel like we're a team. We're wanting to do good and things in the world, and heck, they even end our most of our lives with a prayer, and people come and ask for prayer. Not a church, but it is a fellowship of humanity. And so, yeah, church families are very important. And I'm glad to hear you weren't alone in that. But to have to call your daughter twice.
And tell her that somebody had died. And I could hear her moan. She says, Mama, no, no. And somebody took the phone from me and got Matthew, her husband, on the phone. And they came right away. And Zed was about a year old. That's her first son. But I just remember being, and then I lose the day. I don't remember much of the day after that. One of my very good friends, she managed to call the pastor of our home church. And I don't know how they got people there, but people came. And I was shattered. I was just lost. All I could do was cry. And then when I couldn't cry anymore, and Miss Tina, she was our matriarch. She says, please make her eat. Make her drink. She will get weak.
You gotta have one person saying, shoving food down because they don't. You just don't when you're in those stages. And as far as not knowing how you had the strength, little teeny tiny women can lift cars off their children. You find it, and you got it. That's why I say you breathe in, you breathe out. You're a strong woman.
She's a superwoman.
Some days.
Well, it doesn't mean you don't have weaknesses. It means you're strong because you can. And but so here, Josh brought pain home and didn't talk about it, and it was more than he could live with. He did leave a note, so you had answers, right? Did he leave everybody a note? Or
no, he just left one note, and it really was on the phone. His wife printed it out for me, so I have a copy of it, and I keep it in my jewelry box.
Oh.
I haven't read it in years. It was when he first died. I think I read it every day. And then it got to where I would give myself permission to miss a day. And then I could do it go without a week. So I don't think I've looked at it in 2 years, which is part of the moving on.
Yeah. And you have to really get away from that moment so that suicide is not who he was. It's just something that happened to him.
Right.
No. We can't forget who he was. And we sure want others to learn that it doesn't have to happen to them. It doesn't have to tear through their families the way it will tear through their families.
And it does. I mean, it just, there's no healing from it. No, that's wrong. There is healing, but there's no getting away from it. I mean, it's always there.
And sometimes the wounds reopen. Do you have triggers? Things that
I do have triggers. The spider thing. Spiders will. I mean, even his wife has kept his Facebook page open, and I send him little things. And if I see a spider thing, I'll send it to him. Send it to his page. One of them was it was a machine gun is how you react to a spider. So I mean, but that page being open and his friends will the first year it was everybody was posting on his page, and then it got less and less because it's been 8 years, or this year will be it.
Wow, 8 years.
Yes, it's been 8 years, and then Josh has been, Michael is 5 years. Yeah. A little over 5 years. Less than 5 years.
So his PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So you pretty much have that now.
And my daughter, yes.
And your daughter, yeah. And evidently so did Michael. So the one who did not understand how he could do it ended up doing the same thing. And so it speaks to how deep it runs, because he logically knew it was not the thing to do and how it was going to hurt others and cause so many questions, but evidently the pain is deeper. So, and I was alluding to the fact that a lot of times when soldiers come back and they turn to drugs and alcohol to self-medicate, to find a happy, to leave the pain, a lot of judgment comes in. And instead of seeing it as the scream or the cry, reach out to someone before judging is something. What would you want to say to those that might watch this video with them having gone through all of this, more than most people will in a lifetime? What's the one thing you want them to take from this? Family members, as well as, if they recognize any of this in someone they love, maybe a soldier that came home, what would you say on this side of it?
I would say ask questions. Ask, how are you doing? And be real. I mean, because Josh would laugh things off.
Yeah.
If something was bothering, he'd make self-deprecating jokes. He would just laugh it off. But sit down and talk and say, how are you doing? Tell me about what you're feeling since you left the military. Is there something I can do? Ask questions and don't leave them alone.
What would you say to someone that has a friend or a family member like you that has lost someone to suicide like this? What would you tell them to how to approach you? What do you want people to know? Do you want people to not talk about it? Do you want people to come and talk about it? I mean, I realize everybody's going to be different.
I was one who wanted to talk about it. I wanted to shout, scream, kick, and just shout my lungs out about it. But Michael was very silent. He didn't want to talk about it at all. He didn't want to remember Josh that way. And for so long, and Chelsea calls it rehearsing. She says, Mom, you just rehearse the hurt. But, I mean, that's the way I process it. It is allow people to process it. But also, if you have faith, don't lose the faith. Keep hanging on. Even when you're hanging on by a thread, hang on. There are so many times when I look back now that I thought God had abandoned me. He didn't. Anytime that I felt like I was not close to God, it was because I had moved. God didn't.
Yeah.
But also those friends. I mean, you have a few of those friends who will, and family. Mickey, Nicole. I mean, you have those friends that are there and family that are there that are hold you up. Even when you're flat on the floor, you can still know that they're holding you up.
So, I always say his name.
Absolutely. I love to tell stories about Josh.
And hear him.
And hear him.
He would love for his friends from the military to share a memory, because that keeps him alive. And that's who he was.
Right.
Not what he did.
And I mean, I'm working as a sub I retired from teaching, but I went back to it because I needed something to do, just to keep me out of the house, because what I was finding was that I was getting mopey and that I would go back to depression. So I went back to work, and one of the little girls that, and I call her a little girl, but she's Josh's age. She was one of Josh's friends, and she'll talk to me about Josh, and she'll say, I'm the same age as Miss Blake's son, Josh. And it makes me so happy just to hear his name, and she'll bring him up. And other people are starting to bring him up now. And I bring him up in conversation. Right. I'll bring him up in conversation. You know, Josh loved Christmas. He ruined his Christmas one year because he wanted to know everything he got. So he managed to pick the lock of the trunk, which is where Michael kept most of the presents. And he found out everything that he got. And he said, "It ruined Christmas for me." And we're like, "Whoa." So he said he never did that again. But I mean, he says, "I wanted to know so bad what I was getting." And he got whatever he asked for. I mean, Michael would have been heaven and earth to make sure he got what they asked for. But I mean, he was a fiend about Christmas. He loved Christmas. He loved the holiday. He even liked the music. For his 6th and 7th grade, he was in the band. Once he got to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Once he went to high school, he traded the band for ROTC. But he loved everything about Christmas: the gifts, the story, family. He loved going see Mike's mom.
It's a feeling. It really is a feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's a mood elevator for sure. So how's your daughter doing now?
She's still got anxiety. She's even got a little service dog. That she's actually gotten to where she doesn't have to take him with her everywhere. But for a while there, that service dog went where she went. But she doesn't have to take him every time now. So she's doing better. We both, I forget one of the things she said to me. She said, "Mom, just think of it. If Josh was still here, you'd have such a huge Christmas list." And I'm like, "Chelsea, you're right. I wouldn't be able to afford Christmas because of Josh." Chelsea's real easy for Christmas. Give her a gift card and she's good. Josh would make a list that was a mile long, even as an adult. I mean,
he knew the best.
He knew the best. But I mean, she's doing better. A lot better than she was. We both are.
Well, I'm glad you have each other. So, Mickey, I'm going to come back to you now because I want to go to that ripple. Because now you've seen your sister's world come crashing down twice. What's the ripple as a sibling? What did you see change?
Well, I mean, I've seen my sister change a good bit. But I mean, it's nothing that I really know how to talk about. I just know that when she needs me, she calls me and I go, or I talk to her. Because she does need me sometimes. And, she knows that it doesn't matter what time, day or night, that I will come.
I was missing Marmy the other day so bad, and I just called Mickey and said, "I just need to cry with you." And that's what he let me do, was cry with him.
Oh. Well, just knowing that you can and did you feel like you couldn't talk about it to her, Mickey, or did you know you could talk about it? Because sometimes families don't know how to.
It's hard to explain mine and her dynamic. We've never really been like, see you every day, talk to you every day, brother and sister. 9 times out of 10, when we call each other, it's because we either miss each other or we need each other mentally. And every time we talk, it's a breath of fresh air when I get to talk to her. I don't know why we're not closer, but we just never have been. And I mean, but we are very close.
We are very close.
Soul-wise.
Yeah.
But physically,
that's all you need. I mean,
right.
The rest
Physically,
is noise.
We don't really, physically, we don't hang out. We don't, like a normal brother sister, But I know at any time of day or night that I can go to her and she's there.
And the same for me. Part of the reason that we're not close is that I'm 12 years older than he is. When he was 5, I was in college, away from school, away from home. I mean, he was my baby until I went to college. We were super close because I had to take care of him. Marmy was there, but Marmy worked all the time. But once I went to college, we just got away from each other.
How many years difference is
12.
12. So that's me and my sister. Is there anybody in between you?
Nope. Oh, yeah.
Everybody,
because I'm the oldest and he's the youngest.
Oh, see, there's 11 years difference between me and the next youngest. I was surprised. So I understand that. By the time I come along, most of my older siblings were out of the house.
Right.
And even my sister said, she felt like I was her baby, and I was the baby, got everything. I got the puppy, she got the chicken. I heard that a lot. So
that's okay. The chicken makes breakfast. I'd rather have the chicken.
yeah, but they peck you.
Yeah.
They do.
So as far as oldest and youngest, there's usually such a gap that Mickey probably couldn't win. If he acted like a kid, he's your brother, he should be older. If he acted like your brother, you're just a kid, push him off. So that's what I got from my older sibling. So it's like their kids were my age. So I was either a kid or I was, never an adult. So.
Well, and I had left home, and then as soon as we finished college, we moved to North Carolina for Michael to get his seminary degree. I mean, so big age gap.
Yeah.
So no wonder your Josh and Mickey were like buddies.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I'm sorry he's not here, and I'm really sorry you guys had to go through that. I hope this brings a lot of money to Wounded Warriors to help fund people, and I hope people hear this and seek help and stop their ripples. And
I just hope it helps at least one person. Just one. If it doesn't help anybody else, just one person. I mean, I hope it helps thousands. But as long as it helps one, I'm okay.
If it helps a family member recognize something, if it helps a family member understand why their loved one did it. I mean, there's so many ways this can help. The child that missed out on their parent because of it. Those that don't have an answer. To those that went through what Josh had to make the decision for the greater good that had nothing to do with his upbringing and core person and had to go against it. Understand. But have no doubt that Josh's service is greatly appreciated. Josh was a hero. And Josh had his pain, and I'm sorry for his pain. I'm sorry for yours. And they talk about the soldier signs on the line, willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. You did not sign on that line, and you made the ultimate sacrifice.
No, I did not want him to join the Marines. I said, you can do the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, but not the Marines. Marines are boots on the ground.
Yeah. And they, in all branches, will have different levels, and they have it also.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And their family members go through it too.
Yes, they do.
Other traumatic things will happen in different places. The military is, they build you up. They make machines, and that's what we need to serve our country. I just don't know that they have thought through to how to service the machines that they create, because there's still heart and soul and blood in there. They're not mechanical.
Right.
And those things need just as much medical attention and treatment when they come home as the physical body does.
Right.
And
That's absolutely right. And as a civilian, you don't realize that. You know, you're just so happy to have them home. I mean,
yeah, especially when you only get little bits of information of
right,
what they're in, and they don't want to tell you and worry you.
right.
And you know, you can only imagine being put in a foreign place where you don't know the language, you can't read the writing, and these people want to shoot you.
Yeah.
Or kill you in other ways, and constantly. I mean, and we're not talking about for a day, a week. This is months and years that they are living in these conditions, and it will affect you and change you. And you know, people can have the power to go out in their house for a week and be traumatized. Can you imagine living in those conditions? So, but keep calling your brother.
I will. It's nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you. Mickey, is there anything I missed that you want to add?
No, the only thing that I want to add, you know, as far as video content goes, is that, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that the ripple on this side of the family, as far as she is concerned and I'm concerned, has stopped, because I'm not going to turn her loose.
No.
She'll be here. And, you know, if we can just stop somebody else's ripple on a side, you know, it stops the wave. And, you know, that is our goal. You know, people say, well, you're going to get fame off of this, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. That is not at all what I'm after, or my channel is after, or my sister is after. We are solely about helping somebody. You know, I hope that they make a lot of money with the Wounded Warriors auction. But if we only make $5, as long as the video and the content helps somebody, that is all I'm about. And
Create awareness.
right, and like I said, you know, if you see this video and you're deciding or thinking about ending your life, please look me up. I'm Mickey Sams on Facebook, Storage Brats on Instagram, Storage Brats on Facebook. Please look me up. Comment on the video.
TikTok.
Huh?
TikTok.
Yeah, we got TikTok too. Comment on a video you see us in, and I promise I will reply.
He will.
He does. He's a night owl. He'll reply anytime, for sure. Also, I hope this goes viral. I hope it does go big, because the more that see it, it'll trigger something. Maybe it'll change something. This is one ripple I hope goes far and wide. And another thing I would add is the holidays are hard for a lot of people that have lost people in their lives. It's their first holiday without someone. We're coming out post-pandemic, and there's been an awful lot of loss. People are numb, and if they have that at a civilian level, and then have the military issues such that Josh had, coming to terms with things he had to do or live through, we need to do something. That's why I think now is the perfect time. Start thinking about others, of what they're going through and what they're not saying. And be nice. Just be nice.
Random act of kindness.
It's amazing what one little thing can do.